imposing British taxes and forced importation of British goods over other nations. In April 19, 1775, a small militia of Lexington will stand their ground against one of the mightiest armies the British Empire has ever assembled. They will stand their ground, and most of them will be killed. But the battles of Lexington and Concord will be the spark of the American War of Independence, which is what we're here to portray today. Now, in the American War of Independence, just like any conflict, there is a lot of different sides. There are those who are loyal to the new idea of a young republic where we all can represent ourselves, unless you're not a white man, unfortunately. We also have people who are loyal to the already existing government. And before you today, we're seeing predominantly men who are loyal to the crown. Myself and Tim here are portraying loyalists from Pennsylvania, maybe from the city of Philadelphia, maybe from the surrounding outskirts, maybe men who used to fight for liberty, who decided after being taken prisoner in battles like Brandywine and Germantown that liberty's kind of stupid, I'll take a paycheck from the government and I'll become a British soldier. Now, it would not just be the job of local citizens to fight this war since it's an open rebellion, it would be the job of proper European soldiers brought over from the mother country to wage war here in North America. In regiments like the 60th Regiment of Foot, while for the most part would actually be garrisoned in Florida, would be stationed all over the colonies to wage war against the American Republic. Now, even though we're all dressed very differently, from very different walks of life, be it a barber, be it a sailor, be it a professional soldier, if we're going into battle, we're all going to be dressed pretty similarly. Around our bellies or around our shoulders, there is a leather pouch known as a cartridge pouch, which is a little wooden block with a leather flap that's going to contain my ammunition. If you're a British soldier, you're going to wear it over your shoulder. It's essentially a really bad, a razor-sharp edge. And number two, when flint meets steel, it creates sparks. Exactly right. Thank you. Guys, come on. This is like, we talk. We do this together. This isn't just me talking at you. Interactive. Those sparks are going to strike this L-shaped piece of metal known as the battery. And it has a face of steel welded to it. The sparks are going to fly down into this small spoon-shaped bit known as the pan. In there is going to be a small portion of black gunpowder, a mixture of sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal, which is what we're going to use to propel our ball. The sparks are going to fall into that pan. You guys can come closer, by the way, and like actually look at this and not just like be awkward on the edges. I'm calling you out. That's right. Those sparks will land in that small pan, and maybe if you got closer, you could actually take a look at it. Once those sparks land in that pan, they'll ignite the gunpowder, and if you look on the side of the weapon, there's a very small hole drilled through the barrel. That small explosion of gunpowder will go in there, igniting that black powder charge, igniting the charge located here in my barrel, and pushing my ball, my shot, and my wadding downrange towards my target. I said hopefully a lot. This isn't a very efficient system. It works, but not as well as it could. Now, a question for you guys. Which do you dislike more, deer or geese?
Geese.
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 What do you think?
I like to eat deer better.
Okay, that's fair.
I dislike geese.
Okay, I've never had anyone be like, yeah, deer. It's always geese. So let's say we're going to go out and go hunt some geese. Tim here is going to come out with his fowling gun, and he's going to go in his powder horn, this cow's horn hanging off a sod full of gunpowder. He's going to pour a small amount of powder into that pan, closing it. He's going to pour a powder charge down his barrel. He's then going to take a handful of bird shot, swan shot, buckshot, depends what you're hunting. It's pretty synonymous. You can figure out what swan shot's going to be used against. You put it down the barrel of your weapon. But now you need some sort of wadding. In this case, if he's going hunting, it'll be a piece of paper, a piece of an old hat, it'll be an old wasp nest, it could be junk, which is pulled apart rope, and he's going to ram that down the barrel of his weapon. Now, what's the issue with this if we're going to be going into combat?
It takes a longer time.
It takes too long, exactly right. And it's all piecemeal. Every single piece is individualized. It takes a lot longer to load. So for military service, the British government, as well as all the militaries, are going to issue what's known as a cartridge. Think of it just like a modern-day cartridge for any modern-day firearm. Inside of this is going to be my projectile, my powder, and enough powder to also both prime the weapon, acting as a primer, and charge the barrel. And this piece of paper is not only a handy carrying case, it acts as the wadding. This is the TV dinner of ammunition right here. So when the time comes for these soldiers to load, they can do it quickly and efficiently with a piece of paper with everything they need inside. Now, the way these soldiers are going to fight and form themselves is very specific. We go all the way back to the times of the Bible. David and his Israelites drove the Philistines into the sea using tactics and blocks of men, using spears and formations. And not much has changed by the 18th century. So when these men form, they're going to form over here in 2 ranks. And here's what I'll ask all of you to join me over here. Come on up. Come on. Come on. Go on the portal if you want. If you want to see better and be safer, you're going to want to be on this side of us. There's a big old hole in my shoe now. Great. So when these guys would form, they would form in 2 ranks. Take that in front of me, would you? Now, there's a very specific reason for this. If we're blasting away downrange and I take a really big step back to shoot my gun, this is not very safe for the man in front of me. This is friendly fire. Friendly fire is anything but friendly. It is definitely not OSHA approved. Someone got that joke. Thank you. But still, if the man in the front rank was to take a very large step back when he went to load his weapon, he could knock me over, throwing ranks out of order, causing confusion, making our volleys less accurate, ruining our military formation. So when these men formed, it was in a very specific way. So how the British would do it is they would put the taller guys in the rear rank and the shorter guys in the front rank. This way they could fire over each other. If you were in the French army, though, they put the most experienced guys in the front rank, and the most experienced guys in the back rank, and if you were a new soldier, you'd be in the middle. That way you're sandwiched by 2 veterans who hopefully know what they're doing. Now, when it comes to loading and firing these weapons, there is once again a step-by-step procedure. Starting with the command to take care, simply calling them to the position of attention. On the command, shoulder your firelocks. Now, when it comes to load these weapons, these soldiers would be taught a step-by-step procedure, how to do it piece by piece. However, in the heat of battle, a British soldier, be he loyalist or regular, would simply wait for the command to try, man, load! Throwing that firelock to their side, throwing open that battery, drawing the paper cartridge, bringing it to their teeth, tearing it open, pouring a small amount of black powder into the pan, covering that pan to not dump that powder charge out. Go ahead and ramp that, by the way. Pouring the powder, the shot, and wadding down the muzzle of their weapon, drawing this iron rammer, and then ramming the whole cartridge home. A well-trained regular soldier of the British Army was expected to be able to do this in roughly 15 seconds. However, our militiaman here is militia. He's volunteer. Good enough for government work, my dad would say. Thank you. Someone gets my jokes. Always fall in deaf ears. So now these soldiers' weapons are loaded. That's the amount of time it takes to load a single shot into this weapon. See how drastically weapons have changed over the course of nearly 240 years. Kind of crazy if you think about it. Now, just like loading and firing, there's a step-by-step procedure. Just like loading, there is a step-by-step procedure for firing. Starting with the command to make ready. Throwing that firelock up, fully cocking the cock of the gun which holds the flint, being held in place by the mainspring under tremendous pressure contained by the trigger. These guns are now unsafe, the safety's off, just a heads up. On the command, present! These men sight in down range, slowly, carefully, taking their time to aim. These weapons are fairly accurate. Combat would start at roughly 250 yards away, and men would start to be accurately killed at roughly 150 to 200 yards. These are not the inaccurate weapons movies like The Patriot make you believe that they are. Now, these men can wait quietly and patiently, diligently, while their commanding officer babbles on, waiting for the command to fire. They will pull